Well, hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle and this is Afterburner. Well, 2012. You know, I don't have any memory of a new year coming in with so little hope and so much apprehension. You likely feel the same way. Now, the utter failure of the political classes of all parties, both here and abroad, have put the entire world into a financial crisis, the depth and breadth of which none of us, no one, fully understands. But what everybody understands is this: what we are doing cannot continue. It simply cannot continue. The elites and the power-hungry all across the world have spent all the money there is and all the money there will be for generations yet to come. And we can't simply wave a wand and make it go away. We've spent decades buying things with money we do not have, and now we'll have to spend decades paying for things that we do not get. Everybody knows this, and no one has the courage to talk about it. Well, I'll talk about it. You know, if you read enough history, you discover times that, although different, have the same recurring feel and use the same imagery to describe them. A gathering storm, storm clouds on the horizon, the approaching storm. And they all describe the same thing, namely a sense that something terrible and something awful and inevitable is coming, and that there seems to be nothing anyone can do about it. You heard it in the 1850s before the Civil War, and in the 1930s as the Great Depression grew alongside fascism and communism, and as the fuse on this international debt bomb grows ever shorter, President Obama submits a demand for another $1.2 trillion of additional debt. It's madness, and madness cannot continue forever. This president and his supporters repeatedly tell us that he's the smartest man to ever inhabit the White House. You know, I'd be a little more reassured about all of this if I thought he were capable of some simple arithmetic. President Lincoln, whom he often compares himself to, looked at the repeated disasters suffered by his Army of the Potomac and came to the brutal conclusion that given the resources of the North, he could afford disaster after disaster after disaster and still whip the Confederacy if he could only find a general who, in Lincoln's words, could face the arithmetic. Now, in his case, the arithmetic meant spending not dollars, but spending lives. Ulysses S. Grant was the man who had the nerve to spend the lives of hundreds of thousands of young men in order to achieve victory. President Obama, I am utterly convinced, has nothing like the courage needed to face the arithmetic of the crisis we and the world are in today. So, who will have the courage to face this arithmetic if our so-called leaders all around the world continue to run from it in terror? Well, we will, the American people. We're just going to have to stand up and face the arithmetic. All of the money in the world is gone. It's been pillaged by the weak-willed, power-hungry elitists who have stolen it to buy votes and stay in power. That's the arithmetic. A worldwide default is a catastrophe that we cannot imagine, and the only way out of this is to prepare ourselves for it, not by stockpiling guns and canned beans in a compound in Montana, although stockpiling guns and canned beans at home just sounds like common sense to me. No, what we have to do is what generations of so-called fat, soft, and lazy Americans did before us. We have to face the arithmetic and turn out and face the coming storm. Now, needless to say, none of us remember the sickening horror of watching the country tear itself to pieces in a bloodbath of a civil war. It's not going to be as bad as that, obviously. Some very few of us still remember the gilded glamour of the Roaring '20s collapsing into the brutal austerity of the Great Depression. A few more remember the dark days at the beginning of World War II when the Nazis and the Japanese seemed unstoppable, and the Battle of New York or Los Angeles seemed like only a matter of time. It won't be that bad either. It may not be too bad at all. But what we are doing now cannot continue. You know, my friends, I've learned over the last 10 years the kind of people that I speak to. You are the people that's going to get this country and the rest of the world out of this mess. Not our leaders, not our celebrities, not our political pundits and talking heads. You are. You and me, all of us. Because we are not a fat, stupid, and lazy people, not at our core. When the storm finally breaks, we will discover within us, like generation after generation of Americans before us, that we are made of steel and Kevlar and guided by our common compassion and wisdom. We, you and I, are the same people that stood on Missionary Ridge and climbed Mount Suribachi, and whatever hardships we may need to bear to get through this latest storm, well, we'll bear them together. Slavery is gone. The Nazis are gone. The communists are gone. Al-Qaeda, bin Laden, Saddam, Stalin, Mao, Hitler, Tojo, they're all gone. We're still here. And here's a final thought for you. You know, my mom and dad, my aunts and uncles were part of that generation that lived through depression and war. They saw horrible things and lost many friends and relatives, yet all of them talk about those times with a warmth and a joy that always amazed me. I think it's because when the storm breaks, we have to depend on each other. We have to become better people than we used to be. And if that means we have to take in our unemployed friends or move in with the parents or cut back on all the things we used to think were essentials, we will find, as those generations did before us, what really is essential. And like them, we'll be grateful for it when we get to the other side. We're going to have to tighten belts and work our way out of this approaching storm, my friends. There's no way around it. And there's no one I'd rather face the arithmetic with than you fine people.